Sometimes, life changes in a single second, without warning, without mercy, and without asking if we're ready. And for one man, that second arrived on a cold November evening. Ethan Reyes never thought of himself as a hero. He was a single dad, a mechanic who worked long hours at a small auto shop on the edge of town. His hands were always scraped, his clothes always smelled of engine oil, and his worries often kept him up at night. But when he looked at his 8-year-old daughter, Lily, tiny, bright-eyed, and full of questions, he knew he had a reason to keep going. After his wife passed away from a sudden illness 3 years earlier, Ethan promised himself one thing. No matter how hard it gets, she'll never feel alone. He lived paycheck to paycheck, sometimes skipping dinner just to make sure Lily had enough. Yet he carried his struggles quietly, the way good people often do, without complaint. But fate had been watching him. The night everything changed. It was a Friday evening. Traffic was thick, the sky was darkening early, and Ethan was driving home from the shop, exhausted, with Lily in the back seat humming to herself. They were on a quiet residential road when he noticed something strange. A black SUV ahead of them suddenly swerved, then jerked violently, and then, almost in slow motion, slammed into a lamp post. The sound was like an explosion. Metal crushing, glass shattering, a scream. Ethan's instincts kicked in before his mind had time to think. He pulled over so fast his tires screeched. "Daddy, what happened?" Lily whispered, frightened. "Stay here, baby," he said. "Lock the doors." He sprinted toward the smoking SUV. The front end was crushed, the airbags deployed, and inside he saw a young woman in her early 20s, unconscious, her forehead bleeding. "Ma'am, hey, can you hear me?" No response. Ethan tugged the door handle, it wouldn't budge. He threw his shoulder into it. Once, twice. The smell of burning wires filled the air. People slowed their cars but didn't stop. Some took out their phones. No one got out to help. Ethan cursed under his breath and ran to his car. "Daddy, what's happening?" Lily cried. "I'll be right back," he said, grabbing the tire iron from the trunk. He rushed back and smashed the remaining glass of the window, clearing it with his jacket sleeve so he wouldn't cut her. Smoke was getting thicker. "You're gonna be okay," he said softly as he reached inside, unbuckling her seat belt. She stirred and let out a faint groan. The fire beneath the hood crackled louder. He lifted her, she was trembling, barely conscious, and carried her out just as a small flame curled out from under the engine. He backed away, holding her protectively. Seconds later, the engine burst into flames. The crowd gasped. Someone screamed. But Ethan didn't look back. He just held her tighter. "What's your name?" Paramedics arrived minutes later. They took the young woman, still dazed but alive, and thanked Ethan between breaths as they loaded her into the ambulance. "Sir, that was brave," one of them said. But all Ethan could think was, what if I hadn't been there? Lily ran to him and clung to his waist. "Daddy, you saved her." He kissed the top of her head. "I just did what anyone would do. Except, not everyone did. Not everyone stopped." 2 days later, Ethan was back at the auto shop when his boss stepped outside with a confused look. "Ethan, there's someone asking for you. You better come out here." He wiped his hands and walked out front. A sleek black car was parked outside. A well-dressed older man, silver hair, sharp suit, the kind worn by people who never check price tags, stood beside it. When he saw Ethan, he stepped forward with urgency. "Are you Ethan Reyes?" the man asked. "Yes, sir." The man exhaled shakily. "My name is Daniel Pierce. You saved my daughter." Ethan blinked. "Your daughter?" "Yes," the man said. "Her name is Claire. She told me everything. My family owes you her life." Ethan felt awkward under the intensity in the man's eyes. "I'm glad she's okay," he said quietly. "That's all that matters." But Daniel Pierce wasn't just any father. He was the CEO of Pierce Innovations, a billionaire whose name people whispered with a mix of fear and awe. And he was looking at Ethan like he'd found something priceless. "Please," Daniel said, "come with me to the hospital. My daughter wants to meet you properly." At the hospital, Claire was sitting up in her bed, her head wrapped in a bandage. She was pale but alive. When Ethan walked in, she stared at him with wide, emotional eyes. "That's him," she whispered to her father. "That's the man." Then she looked at Ethan and said something he didn't expect. "Thank you for giving me a second chance at life. I remember your voice telling me I'd be okay." I held onto that. Ethan swallowed hard. I'm just glad you're safe. Claire gestured for him to sit. The doctors said a few more seconds and the car would have exploded with me inside. You saved me before you saved yourself. I couldn't just leave you, he said. Claire studied him. Why did you stop? Everyone else just drove by. He shrugged. Because someone needed help. She blinked rapidly, tears forming. There aren't many people like you left. The revelation. Daniel cleared his throat. Ethan, I want to repay you. Anything you need, name it. Money, job, house, anything. Ethan instantly shook his head. No, sir, I don't want anything. Daniel stared in disbelief. Son, you saved my child. I understand, Ethan said. But I didn't do it for a reward. I did it because someone needed saving. That's enough. Daniel had met thousands of people in his life, businessmen, politicians, millionaires, but very few who spoke with such simple honesty. Claire wiped a tear. Mr. Reyes, can I ask you something personal? Sure. Your daughter, Claire said softly. You kept looking back at your car that night. Was she inside? He nodded. Yeah, I told her to stay put while I helped you. Claire's lips trembled. You risked dying, while your own child was watching. Ethan hesitated, his voice cracking slightly. I just prayed she wouldn't see anything she couldn't forget. For a moment, no one spoke. Then Claire whispered words that sank deep into his heart. Your daughter is lucky to have a father like you. And I'm lucky you were there. When I grow up, when I live the rest of my life, it'll be because someone like you refused to let a stranger die. Ethan felt his throat tighten. He looked away, blinking fast, but a tear still escaped. He didn't cry easily. But her words, her sincerity, broke something open inside him. A gift he never expected. Over the next week, the Pierces didn't disappear from his life. Claire sent drawings Lily made her. Lily sent Claire get-well cards. Even Daniel checked on Ethan daily, ignoring the endless calls from investors and executives. Then, one afternoon, Daniel visited Ethan at the shop again. Ethan, he said, I know you don't want a reward. But I won't insult your humility by offering cash again. He handed Ethan an envelope. What's this? Ethan asked, cautious. Not payment, Daniel said. An opportunity. Inside were 2 papers. One was a full scholarship for Lily, any private school, any of Daniel's funded academies, from now until college. The second paper was a job offer. A position in Pierce Innovations, automotive division. Salary triple what Ethan made at the shop. Health insurance. Paid time off. Future benefits. Ethan stared at the papers, stunned. Sir, this is too much. No, Daniel said firmly. This is the minimum a father can do for the man who saved his child. You didn't ask for anything. That's exactly why you deserve everything. Ethan didn't know what to say. A man who had spent years scraping by, now being offered a chance he never dreamed of. A chance not for himself, but for Lily. He thought of her small hands clutching his jacket that night, her frightened voice, her trust in him. He accepted the offer with a trembling hand. Thank you, he whispered. From my heart. A year later, life changed, not suddenly, but beautifully. Ethan now wore clean uniforms instead of oil-stained shirts. He traveled for work, learned new skills, and finally felt stable. Lily thrived in her new school, winning awards, joining clubs, always smiling. She still visited Claire, who had become like an older sister to her. And Claire, she made a full recovery, kept in touch with Ethan, and often said he was her reminder of what humanity was supposed to look like. One day, on the anniversary of the accident, Claire invited Ethan, Lily, and her father for dinner. Halfway through the evening, Claire raised her glass. To the man who saved my life, she said, her voice thick with emotion. But more importantly, to the man who taught me that real heroes don't wear capes, they wear work boots, drive old cars, and put strangers before themselves. Everyone clapped. Ethan turned red. But then Claire finished with one final line. The line that would stay with him forever. Because of you, Ethan, I get to grow old. I get to live my dreams. I get a future. And I will spend the rest of my life trying to be even half as brave, half as kind, as the man who saved me. Ethan lowered his head, tears welling. For the first time in a long time, they weren't tears of pain. They were tears of gratitude, of healing, of knowing that doing the right thing, no matter the cost, can ripple through lives in ways we never expect. And that, dear listener, is how a single father with nothing but a good heart ended up changing the lives of people who had everything. It all started with one moment. One choice. One act of courage. Sometimes, the smallest light comes from the humblest soul, and yet it shines bright enough to save a life. Moral: a single act of kindness can rewrite someone's entire future, and often, our own.